the war between me and my granny Chiyo. Now, a lot of people used to consider me a mob boss, used to consider me a gang lord, and that's why in this video I refer to myself as Sasori no Dono, because Sasori was my main in Ultimate Ninja Storm 2 back when I was a sophomore in high school. And when I was in doubt, when I couldn't smoke, I literally used to destroy people with Sasori over and over again. But it was a part of my denial when I was in high school. He was the easiest person to cheat with, next to Deidre. But there was a bunch of things that was wrong. My brother kept on calling it out. You're a faggot. You didn't like him before, but now all of a sudden he's running the game, and all of a sudden you're all over his nuts. Now you're making AVs for Sasori and this and that. Like, literally, Robert told me the same thing. Like, I've been on that fight, literally, this and that. And I wasn't too heavy on that fight, but that was literally my brother's favorite fight in Shippuden. And before I called it out, but I knew that fight was wrong because that's when I left off, is when he transformed, but I didn't see the rest of it. So when I was a freshman in high school, or heard that the game was going to be announced, I actually watched it beforehand. I watched the beginning and end of the fight, but I thought it was alright. And the reason why I didn't think it was outstanding, I thought the choreography was great, was because I didn't understand the greatness of what was going on, because all I see is puppets getting destroyed, all I see is Sakura tearing shit up, and I don't like Sakura. There's a whole bunch of things in that scene that pissed me the fuck off. Not literally, I enjoyed it. And then I look at the ending, I'm like, yes, this is what anime used to be like, but then it hit me. I was a grown man. I was a freshman in high school. I didn't like that shit anymore. You know, I could see why I dropped Shippuden, but I still see why it was very entertaining. It was very, very entertaining. And looking at it, I'm like, this feels like when I was watching Toonami, back when I was watching Neji versus Kirinmaru. This was not much strategy, but I didn't care about the strategy because freshman year I was pulling nothing but bitches and living through a false identity. And when I was looking at that, I'm like, damn, that was a crazy fight. But something was just missing, and I'm trying to tell you what that something was in this video. That something was literally the war between me and my grandma to try to literally understand why this is a fucked up society, but why there are roots and roots on top of roots to my family that I don't know about. But it all comes from the transformation of where I left off. So I'm gonna put it like this. I stopped watching Shippuden when I was literally in 7th grade, when I got hooked on One Piece. After I got hooked on One Piece, I went back and watched Sasori versus Chiyo in the morning before I went to school, and I thought that it was a really good fight, but it's like something was generally missing. I felt like I was doing something crazy. I felt the same thing when I was watching the Edelos arc of Fairy Tail, when he said that he's gonna relieve magic from this world. I thought it was very hype, but it was the same energy, but I was overwhelmed because I was still young at the time, but I'm like, this is growing up. I realized while I'm older that this is growing up. I couldn't put a finger on it, but I knew something was wrong with that scene. And even though it was filled with a whole bunch of projectiles and the choreography was decent, I didn't understand what was wrong with that scene, and that has a lot to do with real life, and I'm gonna tell you why. So my grandma and Lady Chiyo have a lot in common. What's going on today is they want me to eat the apple, that rotten apple that makes you evil, that makes you accept the gay shit in society, which is why I didn't give in. So this is literally the war between me and my grandma, how it started and how it ended. Metaphorically speaking, what I did was this. So basically, when I was a freshman in high school, I was going through shit. After my mask came off, I couldn't do shit about my reputation. I got 5150 at the end of freshman year from being outshined, but never outsmarted and never outclassed by Isaiah. Literally, doing the worst for literally the craziest thing, and I hated it because of this. What happened was, I called my grandma out. She's all like, you need to literally be more wholesome, you need to be this and that. And I tried to tell my grandma, there's no better feeling than getting high or fucking girls, grandma. And she paused for a second, and she's like, are you kidding me? There's a whole world out there. Now, after me becoming a grown man, after me proving everybody wrong, after me having multiple jobs and them doing the same thing at every single job and calling me autistic, I went fucking off in real life, but at the time I had to believe her because she was older, and I realized that she lied. But she didn't. I know there's a whole lot more things to sex in this world. But why does it fucking matter when this whole world revolves around sex? At least America. In other countries like Japan and other countries, they are able to literally show titties on screen when they're 5. And you know what their parents tell them? Oh, that's just something that I have. It's natural. Sex is advertised as something people face in America in order for people to be slaves, in order for people to go with the sex propaganda, so they'll never know that there's something better because they can never surpass it. This is why Japan is so much ahead of us in terms of technology, because of the fact that they don't just focus on sex. They focus on sex when they're young, and they view it as a natural thing and review it as a delicacy in the United States. Our festivals have stuffed air balloons. In African festivals, they have literally naked black women with their titties hanging out, but their titties are covered in graffiti. You know what that means? That means they understand the meaning of soul over sex, the meaning of art over sex. This is something I learned over time. But what's the whole point if you're living in a society when boobs and butts take over? My grandma was wrong on both ends because of that very fact. It wasn't the fact that she was wrong, the fact that there's not more to life than sex, but sex is how they control people in America. If that's not the case, then we wouldn't have Big Town. If that's not the case, then I wouldn't have had to deal with that shit on every single fucking job. If that was the case, the woman wouldn't expect a princess treatment. If that was the case, the society wouldn't have defended Lisa and her big tits. I'm sorry, it's the fucking truth. When you do surpass sex, you realize this whole world revolves around sex. What's the so wrong about me being obsessed with sciences? Because that's nothing to do with sex, Eris. I don't care how good you are at anime. I don't care how good you are at life. I want you to succumb to sex. I want you to be just as desperate as you were in high school. Like, I've been there, done that. I don't care about socializing. I'd rather hear my children like, sorry, you have to be obsessed with me. You have to be obsessed with who's going out with who, or else you'll never fit in. I'm like, dude, it's full of shit. Why don't you try struggling? We don't have to struggle. I don't have to be in your shoes. I just have to buy new flashy ones. I'm like, and that's why you don't have a personality. It's like, you don't get girls to your personality. That's why Lisa roasted you. I'm like, no, she couldn't roast me the entire time. And then I realized after I tested if she knew how I roast from the cheerleader video, roasting her over and over and over again, and literally, she holds back her personality to the end. Now that supports the single mother household saying, oh, people aren't upfront with their personality so they don't get manipulated. Well, she got manipulated anyway, so that's out. She fell for their personality, so that's out. Whatever she said didn't fucking matter because I was in a better position where I can get tons and tons of more women, and she could not replace me. That was the main fact in the situation. Didn't matter how hard you thought that comeback was. The reality is I'm smart as fuck, and she was trying to use reverse psychology, saying that's why you run away from every single sexual harassment charge. When in actuality, you guys trap me. You guys literally have numbers trying to outweigh my facts, but I'm so smart now versus when I was a virgin that my facts outweigh your harassment. And the real reason why is because that's why they call me the puppet master Sasori. This is why I take charge of the situation. This is why I control the situation. This is why I became a mob boss. I was a mob boss metaphorically. I didn't want to be a mob boss, but I was protected by so many people that wanted to protect my future that I did become a mob boss. I had drive what other people did. I could do what other people did. I was protected by people as the king on the chessboard. So on to my Sasori session. Another reason why people don't agree with me in society and why people are full of shit. If you remember the Animation Rap League, we had a lot of flaws that was doing the Animation Rap League due to people picking the same characters over and over again, and I would get constructive criticism like, why you guys always want to be Luffy? Why you always want to be this and that? There are hundreds and hundreds of top of animes that we could use in all these different characters or all these different drips. I made literally a speech to my older brother, and he was telling me to shut the fuck up, and I was saying the smartest shit. You know, everybody in the era wanted to be Def the Kid, but nobody wanted to be Soul. And for my debut battle, I was Soul. When I beat Livingstone, I was Soul. I have not lost a single ARL battle when I was Soul, but all those battles are off screen. You have to understand, I'm unique. Everybody wants to be Def the Kid, but I chose to be Soul. And so there was this one day where it came down to the fact where I challenged Dual Killing Anime to a duel. Who's high tier at the time? I'm like, hey dude, I want a battle. I'll be Sasori. And they're like, what, Riz? Are you fucking insane? Do you know how much of a punch-side gold mine Sasori is? That nigga is a puppet. Geppetto puns all day. And literally, Black and Chaos, that nigga lost to Sakura. I'm like, really? I have a shit ton of perspective. Literally, Sasori is one of the strongest members in the Akatsuki. He was way better than Deidara. Deidara only lasted longer because he kept on running away. Sasori had that battle in the bag, and he literally would have killed both of them. And he would have fatherized the fuck out of Sakura, so Black was wrong on paper, but he's supported by society. And this is why people don't agree with me. All that unique shit, all that perspective. Oh, Sasori's just a bitch. He lost to 2 bitches. When in actuality, he was one of the strongest Akatsuki members to live. If Chiyo wasn't there, Sakura would have already been dead. And everybody fucking knows that, but with that perspective, literally, they just constantly saying, no, fuck no. Like, literally, you're fucking insane, Riz. And literally, I realized that when he's pulling the strings, I literally knew that I could do so much. But you can literally do so much expansion with Sasori as a character. He has a wide range of variety of abilities that you can literally make schemes on top of schemes, especially if you know how to rap. And that's why it doesn't matter how smart you are on this board. This matters if you're going out with somebody. It only matters if you're supporting our society and our shitty fucking values. If you're not a part of the sex propaganda, you ain't doing shit in this society. And literally, so she was right. There's more to life than sex, but only if you have money. Only if you go out. Only if you have connections. This is what I never had. This is what I never did have in high school. I called him out my freshman year, and he kept on trying to say I need to be mature. Compare me to people like Peter. Compare me to people who are fucked up like the Arrow, who have tons of perspective but get no pussy. He's like, Eris, it could be way worse. It could be on the street. Well, when I was in the street and when I was literally begging for help, not only did I get that help, but people treated me the way I wanted to be treated. I'm not saying that hoodlums are necessarily better than civilians, but hoodlums can relate to you on a personal level and they will help you out. How come when I was actually in the struggle, the exact opposite happened? And even though society labeled me this and that, it didn't work prior to was in high school. It's like, oh, he's getting all these girls on Snapchat. Oh, all these girls all over his dick, but he can't sustain a relationship. He still has a long way to go. That's not what the rappers are saying. That's not what the people who are looking up to them are saying. And then the older people, my grandma's generation, is like, oh yeah, well, you know, rap and all that stuff is for people who buy junk food. So, you know, Eris is still losing by a lot. He still doesn't have his own house. He still doesn't have a yada. Okay, well, if you take Eris out the equation, where's the rap gonna go? And then we have people like Seymour who started, but Eris doesn't have anything on paper. Eris wasn't going to school. Eris wasn't doing this and that. I'm like, oh yeah, well you have to be a little bit more street smart where it comes to this equation. Because if you take Eris out the equation, look what's going to happen. It may not be that way on paper, but you're going to put 2 and 2 together eventually. You got to stop supporting the stupid ass big tits and literally understand the reality of the situation, understand the complexity. But no, we like to simplify shit to keep people in a single file line of society. So the meaning behind Lady Chiyo and the meaning behind Sasori, and the reason why Sasori never lost, and even stayed not only in the dad books but in the show that Sasori let Chiyo win, is all due to the comparison between me and Sasori and Justin Bieber. This was literally the worst thing. So when I was in high school, Ivy was obsessed with Justin Bieber, and if you go back to the Jenny versus Ivy video, Ivy broke my heart. And the real truth about why Sasori and Justin Bieber are heavily connected is because Sasori is old, but he looks very comparable to Justin Bieber. He is sexy just like Justin Bieber, no homo. But literally, why is the guy who looks like a godfather and mob boss being compared to Justin Bieber? I'll explain it a little bit. Because that's what I was doing. I was controlling the media through literally pop and all this stupid culture. Literally, due to me mastering the art of it when I'm in high school, but I'm doing it for a mature reason. I went pop back when I was doing shit with Karma for a good reason, so I can literally get more famous. So I really have the skills on paper because I realized that being a gangster isn't always going to sell. So I lowered my standards in order to act pop, in order to get money. And they're like, no, Eris, we want you to go back to being cold. I'm like, I'm cool with being corny. Like back when I was in Level Up Expo, I still have the perspective of a grown man, but I was surrounded by a whole bunch of little kids, and there was this girl who was dancing out loud with no music, trying to get my attention. She was super fine, super pretty, by the way, but she was doing the most socially awkward thing ever, and I'm like, I used to be that. I used to be all pretty and no personality, and I looked at her and I just sighed. I'm like, you know what? I can't accept her right now, because if I accept her, even though she's pretty, but she's doing socially awkward, then I'd be literally lying to her, and I'd be super fucked up. So I didn't, and that girl got into a fight with an undergirl that was literally cosplaying as Corona. So literally, they got into a fight and everybody's like, oh my god, nah, everything's gonna be all good. But I'm like, dude, this is fucking nothing. I show up to the wackest part of Level Up Expo. I have the most mediocre fit compared to the other 2 days. And literally, people are still praising me. I'm like, dude, this is pop. But you know what? It was worth it at the end. So what does this have to do with Justin Bieber? I put it like this. I'm getting all these bitches. I'm getting all the support. But it's a distraction from my children. It's a distraction from how much I've been held back as a child. It's a distraction from this and that. I understand that all this shit is a distraction, but that's the reason why I lower my standards. So the situation is very complex. So I'm controlling the Bay Area. I'm controlling 100 puppets of so many rappers that aren't necessarily mainstream. But here's the catch-22. My grandma has limited puppets that are not holding up to the candle of what I actually had to do. But why did Sasori take the hit at the end? Why? Why did he let Chiyo win? Why was Black wrong? Why is this and that? It's because it was too easy for him to win. That's like, it was too easy for me to survive in society. What society wanted me to do was they wanted me to finally give in to the fact that I'm getting bitches, but I don't have anything in my name, and I don't have this and that I'm still a little kid, and that going out and doing this and that is awful little kid shit, but they know on the inside I'm doing it to literally break my way into fame so I can finally get it on paper. But they're like, no, we want you to be a slave first. And I'm like, well, it's too bad. I'm doing something that I enjoy doing. And my grandma was literally always trying to get me to do basic shit, always trying to get me to go out with Jordan, always trying to get me to pick one. And the reason why is because she feels like because he was so hard on me, when I get out in the real world and when I do get my own shit, I'm gonna commit suicide because of how much I'm obsessed with science, how much I'm obsessed with so much complex shit, and knowing that people speak in tongues. Grown managers making mistakes at their own job, this and that. I'm noticing all this shit, how society functions isn't at all the level of strategy that I took for me to literally escape the first time. And it's all like, they want me to be obsessed with science forever. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm eventually gonna want coochie. I understand what's more important, but since you're something in my face, I have to take advantage of it now. And that is the difference between a cartoon and reality. So Sasori took the hit for his grandma, and that's what people want me to take the hit in society. Oh my god, just listen to your grandma. Literally, just listen. You're gonna have a brain cramp dealing with all these dumb bitches. That's like Level Up Expo. All these cosplay bitches are unsocial. They have the same level of social difficulty that you had when you were in high school. They're all looks and no personality. Lisa won. But unlike the fucking cartoon, I'm not gonna give in. I'm not gonna let everything I worked hard for be put to waste. Sasori was lonely. Sasori did make a puppet at everyone. The people who were supporting me aren't dead. They're not fucking people that are in motherfucking wooden boxes that come out. They are not toys. We are not puppets in fucking society. But they want you to think that. You can have your cake and eat it too in society, but you guess what? You have to have experience. You have to literally be trained that way. You have to literally know what people are trying to do, but have multiple options on the side. They don't want you to have the expanded mind. But people already know that. That's why you should date when you're young. That's why you should have this experience, so you have something to fall back on. So when they try to attack you, saying, we don't like how you get the end result, we don't like how you're getting bitches after bitches, when we're going to work in school and we're getting nothing. And it's not the fact that I didn't want to go work in school, it's the fact that you guys kept harassing me with your non-stop stupid ass jokes and your stupid ass gaslighting, literally taking a piece of the story and expanding it, making the whole story is not what I would call being sociality. I will do whatever I need to make my way to the top, because I cannot fuck with this shit anymore. I cannot fuck with word of mouth. I am not trying to control a whole bunch of people just to let them down. I don't control shit. That's why they're not my puppets. I let them be free. People support me by love and affection. They don't support me through force, like how a lot of people want me to be. A lot of people want me to be a pimp or a pop star in and out. I'm not a pop star in and out. I've been through a struggle, so it's impossible for me to be a pop star in and out. And literally, they want me to literally take advantage of the choosing signals. They want me to do it in a bad way. They want me to literally do this and that. I turned pop in order to support my children, in order to support society. But they don't want me to do it unless I have something holding me down. So guess what? That whole perspective, that whole shit that Black was telling me that Sasori is a rat character when he is very heavily well written, when everything tied into what he was trying to say, and everything literally turned out so fucking savage that he was. And he literally had one of the best fights in Naruto. All that perspective that he's 10 times better than Deidara, but Deidara lasted longer on paper. Sorry. But it's because I'm able to view things that way. It's the reason why I won. It's the reason why you guys suck. It's the reason why you keep on dick grinding the outside. If you keep on following the paper, you're forever going to be a nerd that's not going to be able to read people. You can read a book that stands still, but you're never able to read a person that's trying to fight back. Society was so fucking angry. Why is he taking advantage of the Tuesday signals? He's supposed to be obsessed with science, so I do it for one time. I'll go to anime one time after literally years of me being obsessed with One Piece theories and me literally being the biggest nerd of all time. And you want to count me pulling bitches after bitches when I already knew I could, but I put them on delay. But that's on the inside, but on the outside I made history. Then you have another thing coming. It'd be wise if you don't try to start something with the Puppet Master. It'd be wise if you don't try to recognize the complexity of the situation. It'd be wise if you recognize that he let her win because the world outside wasn't worth it. And that is the truth behind Sasori and Chiyo. It's a sequence between a black member of society dealing with an abusive family. They are harder them to a point where they can't get anything that they get from their family on the outside. I never had to think this hard now with my family. Things are boring. I never had to. No, that's only a condition. It is because I'm not obsessed with the science to the fact that I don't know how to party. It's the reason why that's never going to happen. I'm never going to take the hit for Lady Chiyo. I'm never going to literally succumb to what the fuck you're shoving down my throat. I'm forever going to stand tall, and I'm not gonna let you stab me.